Can emotional trauma cause physical symptoms? Of course it can, but what does that look like? We'll talk about it in today's video. Hi, I'm Alicia Decker, co-founder of Mended Light, and I am passionate about supporting you in healing. This channel is all about healing from trauma so you can feel safe, whole, and worthy of love. Please join us, and remember to subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss a thing. In one of the most comprehensive books on trauma I have ever read, The Body Keeps the Score, the author states, chronic emotional abuse and neglect can be just as devastating as physical abuse and even sexual abuse. Not being seen, not being known, and having nowhere to turn to feel safe is devastating at any age, but it is particularly destructive for young children. Chronic emotional abuse and neglect are just as devastating as physical and sexual abuse. Emotional abuse can be traumatizing, but it is often so much more difficult to explain and communicate and even to prove. There can be narcissism, gaslighting, and a whole host of other behaviors that cause you to question yourself and your perspective. If you've experienced emotional abuse as a child, you wouldn't even have the cognitive development to know that it was abuse or that something was wrong. It was just your version of normal. One of the aspects of trauma that is not often talked about is how you question your own judgment and you lose your ability to trust yourself. If the emotional abusive person in your life is a parent or a partner or a person of authority, it is that much harder to break free of the web of lies of emotional abuse. For all these reasons, emotional trauma can be challenging to address, but we're here to support you. Trauma, including emotional trauma, can create a whole host of problems in your body. From fibromyalgia to chronic fatigue, autoimmune disorders to insomnia, anxiety, depression, migraines, and more. I would go so far as to say that all discomfort or dis-ease is a cry for help from the body that something needs to be addressed. What if instead of trying to shut down our body's cries for help, we recognize that it is trying to communicate to us an unresolved need? What if the pain, the discomfort, or disease didn't register as something to cover up or make go away, but something to resolve? What if instead of trying to take a prescription drug to cover up the symptom, we learn to connect with the buried emotion, honoring our need to heal our body and our mind and our heart? Okay, so you know the book I mentioned at the beginning, The Body Keeps the Score? Dr. Bessel van der Kolk explores the interconnectedness between traumatic experiences and the body, mind, and brain. He says, after trauma, the world is experienced with a different nervous system. The survivor's energy now becomes focused on suppressing inner chaos at the expense of spontaneous involvement in their life. These attempts to maintain control over unbearable physiological reactions can result in a whole range of physical symptoms. This is where the fibromyalgia, the chronic fatigue, and autoimmune diseases come up. This explains why it is critical for trauma treatment to engage the entire person, body, mind, and brain. Did you know that the brain has an alarm system? And when it is triggered, it is designed to help you survive, even at the cost of you being actively engaged in your own life. When the alarm system is triggered, it is almost like your brain has pre-programmed escape plans. It shuts down or decreases the higher thinking parts of your brain, the ones responsible for conscious thought, and engages in survival mode in what is sometimes called your reptilian brain. Your body may respond to trauma or a trigger before your conscious mind has even had a chance to catch up and know what is going on. That is because the conscious part of your brain literally goes offline in the event of a trauma, threat, or trigger. Yes, even triggers for emotional trauma. For this reason, you cannot just will yourself out of responding differently. Your cognitive brain function literally shuts down. To find true healing from traumatic events and their subsequent triggers, you need to bring your thinking brain back online. To do this, it first needs to be safe. It needs to be safe for you to vocalize what you know and feel. If it is not, the only option is to deny and disassociate with yourself out of necessity to survive. While this response is what your brain and body is designed to do to keep you safe, if you stay in that place, it will also keep you stuck. Stuck in a place of fear, hypervigilance, unable to thrive or fully enjoy life because your brain is stuck in survival mode, even if the trauma has long since passed. When you experience something traumatic and parts of your brain go offline, like we talked about, this creates new pathways in the brain. These pathways are created by neurons, and we know that neurons that fire together wire together. And when a pathway fires repeatedly, it becomes a default setting in our programming, or the way we will most likely respond. I like to compare this to wagon wheel ruts. Now, I know we don't use wagons anymore, but everyone knows what wagon wheel ruts are. If a dirt road is traveled just a few times by a wagon, there are not any ruts in the road. It is easy to take a different path. But if you are following a road or a neural pathway that has been etched deep in your brain because you have followed it thousands, if not millions of times before, it becomes a deeply ingrained behavior pattern. And if that deeply ingrained behavior pattern is no longer serving you, if the programming that used to keep you safe is now keeping you stuck, it may feel like there is no hope for your future to be different than the past. The nerves and chemicals that create pathways in our brain make up a basic brain structure. Our brain structure has a different connection with our body through our nervous system. If certain parts of our brain shut down out of survival, it is going to affect the organs and the body processes that correlate to that part of the brain. If you need support in letting go of stuck emotions, check out our video, How to Release Trauma in the Body. Going back to the quote we started with, all of these reasons are why after trauma, the world is experienced with a different nervous system. Your energy after trauma is now focused on suppressing inner chaos at the expense of spontaneous involvement in your life. These attempts to maintain control over unbearable stress caused when you go into a state of fight, flight, or freeze can cause a whole range of physical symptoms, including the autoimmune diseases, migraines, depression, anxiety, and many more. This explains why it is critical for trauma treatment to engage the entire person, body, mind, and brain. So if you're ever feeling like you're crazy, or you're questioning what's wrong with you, or wondering why you can't just get over it and move on, it's because your brain has literally been rewired by the trauma and the subsequent PTSD. Your brain was protecting you in the moment to keep you safe. Recognize that if you are now in a place of safety and security, those coping mechanisms are no longer keeping you safe, they are keeping you stuck. Show yourself love and appreciation and understanding for the amazing ways you have handled the challenges of trauma. You are still here, you are still trying, and that is commendable. You are worthy of love, understanding, and happiness. Get the support you need to heal. If this video has been helpful, will you do me a favor? Please share this with a loved one who needs support in their healing journey. Also, remember to subscribe, click the bell, and watch the next video. Until next time, keep shining. We need your light. Here comes the next video. You know you want to watch it. Clickety click click.